Everybody come out of the game okay? Any new injuries?
No, everybody came out of the game really good in terms of fitness. So, full squad to choose from. Obviously, Pep, the only long term.
What do you attribute maybe a lack of edge in the way you guys started on Tuesday?
I don't know. I mean, I look back at the game. You preview. You go back and reflect on it. The first 10 minutes was okay. You know, we've had a chance. They've had a couple of shots from the edge of the box, but then we just got really sloppy in our play. Thought we gave the ball away too cheaply. And I said to the players today, it didn't quite feel like last year's playoff game. There was an excitement last year when we was at home, and it felt more like an expectation. Rather than the excitement of playing in a, we've worked really hard, 34 games to get a home game, and we've, probably give that away in the advantage of that away in the first half performance. But, it was something that we'll look at and look back on, and hopefully we can go and get the win at the Yankee Stadium to make sure that we come back and do right now.
Was that your big issue with the Tuesday schedule? For the crowd?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we distributed 34,000 tickets and we got 21,000 there. And listen, the fans that were there made a really good noise, but it wasn't like the feeling, and you know what I mean, the feeling wasn't like it was against Orlando at home last year. The playoffs is meant to be everything in the MLS, so I just felt we could have played Friday. Why not? Why couldn't Miami play Saturday? And you're going to get bigger tendencies. I've got lots of people who live close to me who couldn't make the game because of their kids on a school night, and that's understandable. And I'm trying to support for our supporters. You know how much I cared about the supporters, and it would have been great to have a full lower bowl there, behind us for the game.
Does this format make it less forgiving for a team that's in your situation, in that the pendulum swings from a favoritism aspect all the way out there to the opposition? Because the three previous teams who have lost at home in this format have not forced a third game.
I don't know. I don't believe so. Listen, the players are over it. I think half-time we got over it because the second half was a much improved performance. We didn't quite create the big chances. I thought they defended their penalty box really well. But yeah, the lads are ready for this game at the Yankee Stadium.
One of the things you said after the New York game, it felt that the penalty came at a time where you weren't even able to really implement your game plan. Does that mean you put the same kind of thing in place going into this one? Do you tweak it a little bit? Or are you even more aggressive knowing what's on the line and the fact that it's win or go home?
No, we'll have a game plan, as I said, but both teams have been pretty close over the 3 games that we've played so far, and this will be the same. But we know what we think we can do to hurt them, and what we have to do to make sure they don't hurt us, and and that's going to be more of the second half performance than it was obviously the first.
Steve, some pundits around on radio and different things have been talking, guys with great experience, MLS and national team stuff, and they were talking about how teams are targeting Wilf on purpose, trying to elicit reactions, and that they expect this to happen, in New York on Saturday. Do you feel so as well?
He's been targeted all season. He's the most fouled in MLS history in one season, so I think that tells its own story. As long as it's managed properly, I've got no qualms, and nor does Wilf. He's used to it. He's used to it in a higher league as well. So he'll be ready for it.
And just with the aspects of what Christian was telling us before, that really hadn't considered is the sight lines for him, in defending the goal and stuff, because you have different backgrounds and things like that. Does that affect the field players as well?
What do you mean in the?
His orientation on sending balls across not just the narrowness of the field and the length.
Oh, at their stadium.
Yeah, but the orientation from sight lines and backgrounds.
It's been like that since they've been in the league. So you have to get on with it. You just have to deal with it. I hope it's not going to affect them too much, but. We've got to play to the conditions that are set out there and do our best that we can for that.
How does a smaller field change? I mean, just intuitively it seems like it would make it easier to defend, harder to score. Is it that simple?
Not quite that simple, but yes, it's going to be a smaller pitch, so you can go and win the ball back a little bit easier because it's smaller spaces to go and press into. And you've got to be a lot smarter to create goals. Technically, you've got to be better in your combination play and getting behind them. So yeah, it's going to be tougher to go and score there.
Danielle?
After the match, we heard that Wilf came in to the dressing room and gave a pretty impassioned speech to the guys afterwards. I don't know if you were in there or did you hear about what was kind of said?
No, unfortunately, I can't shed any more light than what you got. I've not asked the players. I know he said something. I don't know what it was. I think it might have been my neighbour who told me because they'd seen it on Harry's interview. I think after the game. Yeah.
Just the insertion of him back into the equation this week, or the past couple of days, knowing that he's going to be out there, what kind of energy does that provide for the rest of the team?
I think it's going to bring hunger from him. He wanted to be playing in that first game, and that's what he came here for, to get us to the playoffs, and then to try and go and win the playoffs. So to miss that first one hurt him, and obviously hurt us as a team as well. So he'll be going all out to go and get the win for us.
When last season you were in the playoffs, you lost the first one in this 3-game series as well. Do you draw anything from that experience of knowing we have to push if we want to now force this third one to then come back to our city?
Yeah, I mean, after that game last year in Orlando, we played really well in the home game and deserved to win in normal time, and it had to go to penalties in the end. So we know what it takes to go and win the second game, and there's a lot of experience in the boys who experienced that last year as well. So yeah, we believe we can take this to a 3-game series, and we believe that we can go and win it, beat New York City at home.
Anna?
With Wilf back into your attack on Saturday, what do you think this is going to open up for your midfield? I feel like when he's on the field, he gets a lot more distraction from opposition's midfielders. Like what's going to hopefully happen for Bronico?
Yeah, he attracts attention. Lots of teams double up on him, which allows opportunities and space for other people. And he's very good at getting the ball out of tight situations and seeing other people in space as well. So that's the strength that he's going to bring to us, along with his technical ability in and around the penalty box. Where he can sit somebody on the backside and get a shot in.
But what do you think that's going to do for Bronico and Gianni?
I think it'll open up space for them. It'll open up space for them to get on the ball, and use the ball better than we did the other night.
Yeah. And talking about that in this tight field, Vargas and Wilf, maybe like less time, like there's going to be easier to close down the space just because of how tight the field is. Like what adjustments, when you look back at the game a couple of weeks ago on that field, like what adjustments should they make just to maybe play quicker in the tighter space?
I mean, only minor adjustments, to be honest. Opposite movements. Make sure you're dragging somebody in to create space for others. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. And again, that game at New York City was really tight. It was a really close game. So, and it's just making sure that you do the small things well. Get the basics right. And we failed on the basics a few times in the first half on Tuesday night, and that's what we have to make sure we get right.
It seems to, like, NYC plays with 5 back when they're defending, when they're going forward, maybe it's a 3-4. Hack sometimes steps up, sometimes the other center back does too. Like, what can that potentially open up? Are you encouraging Bronico to get into that space quicker? Are you hoping that's Tokolmadi this time around?
Well, I think both of them. What we need to make sure is that we stretch their line. I just felt a couple of times that both Idan and Brandt came off their line too much towards the ball. And when you're playing on a shorter pitch, it's going to be more difficult to get the ball in behind them. So we've got to make sure that we stretch the game and keep it big when we've got the ball. But they were, sometimes they'd build in a 3, sometimes they'd build in a 4, very similar to us as well.
Yeah. Last one, with Harry and Nathan on the other side, do you want them to play a little bit more direct balls than maybe you saw from Tuesday night? Do you see time for them to get...
Well, I think our best chance of the night was Bronico on 15, 16 minutes, and that was a ball in behind from Nathan. which they didn't deal with. They're not. I think as a team, the more they're running back towards their own goal, the more they struggle. So we've got to make sure that we go and play in their half.
Thank you.
Cheers.
The obvious, it is an elimination game for you guys. The channeling of keeping that outside and focusing on the task at hand. Where do you fall in that preparation? Is that a players-led thing, or you just doesn't even need to be said?
No, the players know. We all know it's now becoming an elimination game because we lost the first game, but somebody was going to lose the first game. So it was either a go-through game or an elimination game. There was no other thing it could be. So we're ready for that. We're prepared for it. We know we have to go and put in a performance. That's the biggest thing. You look back at the game and we barely had 7 out of 10s. And if you're not going to get 7 out of 10s, you're not going to win games of football. But it was still only 1-0. So it just shows you how close the two teams are.
We've talked about the field out at Yankee Stadium, and it's a little more constricted. And how does that? Obviously, New York plays that to their advantage because it's their place. How difficult of a place is that to play when you've got a group that can play a little bit more wide open and can utilize that extra space that just won't be there?
Yeah, I mean, they've lost games there though as well. They're going to use it as their strength, but we're going to have to go and use it as a strength as ours as well. So, working on the game still doesn't change. Whatever size the pitch is, we can have pitches that are 120 long, pitches that are 110 long. But the game doesn't change where you've got to score more goals in their goal than they do in yours. So we have to make that possible by making sure that we play in their half more than they do in us.
Is a shorter pitch? I don't know.
It's shorter and narrower.
No, yeah, it's
Yeah.
shorter and narrower. But is that kind of, as a player, was that more enjoyable? Because there's just less running and you can be a little more tactical.
I think as a defender, I used to like it more. Yeah, because it was less running for me. As a forward, you probably need a little bit more. You'd like a little bit more space to run into. But yeah, it's the size of the pitch for me is unimportant at the moment. It's about how you go and perform.
Steve?
On Tuesday, they played very compact. You were able to get the ball out to the wings on diagonal balls and just up the line on things, and you put a lot of service into the box. Was the service where you wanted it to be?
No.
Because Freeze seemed to be coming out.
No, it weren't great service. Yeah, we put it too close to the goalkeeper at times, put it behind the goal at times. We set it back and we didn't have people arriving. We was already there, which is always easy to defend if you're a defender. So, yeah, we got things wrong in the final third as much as we did in the middle third.
Do you feel that they also had a successful scheme for keeping it down at bay for most of it?
No, I didn't think the service that we got into it done was what we could have.
So that was more the lack on Charlotte's part?
Yeah, I thought it was the lack of play from us. Yes, they're going to, once they got the goal lead, certainly the second half we had the majority of play, and put them under pressure, but we never really created that big chance. Idan's had a good shot from a better cross. I think it was when Archie showed and dragged the other centre back out, played it, and I think he hit the outside of the post with his shot, and then Archie had the one on the turn at the end. But there weren't loads of chances there. We would have liked more.
Archie had a good impact in there. Do you see trying to take that?
No, he had a good impact, and he dragged centre backs out of positions into positions they didn't want to go, and opened up space for others. And that's the important part when you're in the final third. Is creating space for others.
Do you see going more aggressive with him earlier?
Maybe, but we'll see how the game pans out.
Okay, and on the goal, looking back at it as a central defender yourself, was it more Charlotte mistakes or offensive brilliance on?
It was a good run, but it should have been dealt with. Yeah.
Mhm. Would
Yeah.
you want a center back laying down on the block? When a guy's cutting through like that?
It's a tough one because you're in the penalty box, so
Yeah.
any planting of your foot is a possible penalty. But there was just no physical contact. I think the referee had already pretty much made it clear that he was allowing physical contact with their first chance with the.
Kung fu kick?
No, it was the one on Diani. Where the lad So, go and make physical contact with players.
Thanks.
Willie?
If we are to assume that Zaha slots back in for Abada and that basically is your only change, how comfortable are you with your 11 based on what you saw, or is this a time where you tinker because you weren't satisfied with the way you saw?
No, I've got the 11 in my head. I know what I'll be naming with the guys tomorrow. And the players will be ready.
You seem like you had something going in that second half with Vargas down the right side without, again, revealing a trade secret. Is it just more about trying to make sure that those things are more utilized earlier on?
Yeah, just the quality of our delivery at times, and how we get into them areas. That's the biggest thing, because if we know where we're going to put it into the penalty box, then we're one step ahead of the opposition already, because our forwards then know where the ball's going as well. So that's the important thing.
Do you encourage more of Toffolo and Byrne going forward on a pitch of this size, or do you maybe have them pick their spots a little more carefully?
I want them to manage the game as they always do. So if they're seeing the opportunity to go and overlap or underlap or back up, not a problem. And the biggest thing, because if you look at most of their chances, opportunities they had, they came from us losing the ball in their transition. So our rest defence has to be really important as well when we've got the ball.
Dean, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.